Everyone who exhaled after the equinox is making a systemic calculation that does not hold. The logic seems sound. March was intense. The zero zone, the equinox, the declaration, the verification. 4 weeks of internal work. The body is tired. The mind wants a break. The reasonable conclusion: rest, recover. Let the code run on its own for a while. Come back in a few weeks. This is the obvious read, and it is wrong. Not slightly off, structurally wrong. Because March was not the event. March was the preparation for the event. The equinox was not the finish line. It was the starting gun. And what it started does not wait for anyone to finish resting. Here is the paradox. For 4 weeks, the dominant instruction was, stop, be quiet, do not act, clear the drive, write the code, let the system verify. Every video in this series has been about restraint, about patience, about not pressing buttons during installation. And now, within the same breath, the instruction reverses completely. Act, move, build, execute. The horse has left the stable. If that feels like contradiction, it is. And it is supposed to be. Because the system does not operate in one mode. It operates in cycles. And the cycle just shifted. March was yin, receptive, quiet, internal. April is yang, active, loud, external. The error is treating them as the same phase. They are opposite phases of the same cycle. And treating yang as if it were yin, resting when the system is demanding action, is as costly as the reverse. Let me lay out what March actually was in retrospect, because the picture only becomes clear when all 4 pieces are visible at once. Week 1, the zero zone. The last 5 degrees of Pisces. Old system shutdown, cache clearing, the silence protocol. For 5 days, the instruction was, do not write data. Do not start new projects. Do not make decisions. The system is formatting the drive. Any data written during the format gets erased. The drive was cleaned. Old programs, old habits, old relationship patterns, old financial ceilings, old beliefs about what is possible were marked for deletion. Not all were fully removed, but the markers were set. The deletion queue was loaded, and the space began clearing. Week 2, the equinox. Sun at 0 Aries meets Saturn. Simultaneous ignition, both firing at the same point for the first time in 30 years. The architect's declaration was written. 1 sentence of architecture, 3 load-bearing commitments, 1 elimination. Specific, measurable, dated. The 30-year code was submitted to a system at 0 bias, a blank slate with no competing signals. The first file loaded after a clean boot. Sequence priority, maximum. The code entered the register. Week 3, verification. 72 hours of health checks across 3 domains. Social, did new people appear? Temporal, did the past make contact? Physical, did the body report changes? 3 markers, each one testing whether the submitted code was accepted by a different layer of the system. For some, all 3 appeared. For others, 1 or 2. For some, nothing visible, which meant either delayed execution or default write. The diagnostic was honest. The patching protocol was provided. The verification window closed. Week 4. This moment. The transition point. The installation is complete. The loading bar hit 100%. The screen is no longer black. The interface is live, and the first program is about to execute. Everything that follows, April, May, the rest of the year, runs on the code that was written in March, or on the default code that the system wrote when nothing was submitted. Either way, the system is now executing. The question is what it is executing. Think of it as a construction project. March was the site preparation and foundation pour. The zero zone cleared the site, demolished the old structure, removed the rubble, leveled the ground. The equinox poured the concrete. The architect's declaration was the foundation blueprint. The verification phase was the curing period. The concrete needed time to set before it could bear weight. And now, at the end of March, the concrete has cured. The foundation is solid. The forms have been removed. And the construction crew arrives on the 1st of April. Not politely, not gradually. They arrive with cranes. Because in the year of the fire horse, construction does not proceed at a careful, measured pace. It proceeds at the pace of a horse that has been restrained for 3 months and has just been released. The fire horse. In the Chinese metaphysical calendar, 2026 is the year of the fire horse, Bing Wu. Fire on fire. The horse is already the most yang animal in the cycle. Fast, impulsive, powerful, impatient. Fire as its element doubles that intensity. The fire horse does not trot, it gallops. And it does not follow the road, it cuts across the field. This is not abstract symbolism. The fire horse year recurs every 60 years. The last one was 1966. Look at what happened that year. Cultural revolutions, literally. The Chinese Cultural Revolution launched. The counterculture in the West exploded. Financial markets restructured. Political systems that had been stable for decades cracked open in months. At the individual level, people who were in their 20s and 30s in 1966 report the same pattern. Things that had been building quietly for years suddenly materialized all at once. Careers took off or crashed. Relationships that had been slowly evolving reached sudden decision points. Relocations happened faster than planned. The fire horse compresses timelines. What would normally unfold over a year gets compressed into quarters. What would take a quarter gets compressed into weeks. Before 1966, the previous fire horse was 1906, the San Francisco earthquake, the founding of the All India Muslim League, breakthroughs in quantum theory that restructured physics for the next century. Again, compression, acceleration, events that bend the timeline. Not because the fire horse causes earthquakes or revolutions, but because in a fire horse year, the execution speed of whatever code is running increases dramatically. Good code executes fast, bad code crashes fast. Neutral code, default code, legacy code, code nobody wrote intentionally, gets stress tested at speeds it was not designed for. In practical terms for April 2026, this means the execution phase of the cycle will be characterized by speed, abruptness, and a compression of timelines that most people will find disorienting. Things that normally take months will happen in weeks. Decisions that usually have a long deliberation period will present themselves as immediate yes or no now. Opportunities will appear and demand response within days, not months. The fire horse does not negotiate with your schedule, it runs. You either mount and ride or you get dragged. There is a crucial nuance here. The fire horse does not create chaos randomly. It accelerates whatever is already in motion. If the code written in March was precise and intentional, the horse accelerates that precision. The architecture materializes faster. The commitments compound sooner. The eliminations clear more completely. But if the code was vague, if the declaration was half-formed, if the elimination was avoided, if the patching protocol was started but not maintained, the horse accelerates that too. Incomplete architecture under high-speed construction produces unstable structures. Walls that go up fast on a weak foundation crack under their own weight. This is why the March preparation mattered, not as a spiritual exercise, as structural engineering. The March firmware determines what the April execution builds, and the fire horse determines how fast it builds it. Now here is something that was not visible during March but becomes clear now. The fatigue that many experienced, the exhaustion, the low energy, the feeling of running on empty was not depletion. It was investment. Energy was not lost during March. It was redirected. Every calorie of attention that went into the zero-zone silence, the declaration writing, the verification tracking, all of it went into the foundation. It was deposited, not spent. And in April, the deposit matures. The return comes. Not gently, not gradually, the way the fire horse delivers everything, fast, in volume, and without warning. The mechanism is straightforward. During March, the system was operating in installation mode. The majority of available resources were allocated to internal processes. Like a computer running a major update, the fan is loud, the machine is warm, but the screen shows almost nothing. The internal workload was enormous. The external output was minimal. In April, the update is complete. The system switches from installation mode to execution mode. The resources that were locked in internal processing are now freed for external output. This is not a metaphor. It maps directly onto the cortisol-dopamine cycle. Prolonged periods of internal processing, stress without visible output, produce elevated cortisol and suppress dopamine. When the processing completes and external results begin appearing, the cortisol drops and dopamine surges. The subjective experience: a sudden increase in energy, motivation, and the feeling that things are finally moving. This is biochemical, not mystical, and it tends to hit around the end of the first week of April, roughly 7 to 10 days after the equinox verification window closes. If you have been feeling drained since mid-March, expecting the drain to continue into April, recalibrate. The energetic profile of April is the inverse of March. March was a deficit month, energy going in, nothing visible coming out. April is a surplus month. The stored energy begins converting into material output. New ideas will have force behind them. Conversations will produce results instead of circling. Physical energy will increase, often sharply, sometimes overnight. A shift from dragging through days to having more capacity than you know what to do with. This is not a mood swing. This is resource reallocation. The foundation is built. The system is redirecting all construction resources from underground work to above-ground work. The shift is fast because the horse is fast. 3 domains accelerate in April. Not all of life at once. The system is efficient. It concentrates execution in the areas where the architect's declaration made the strongest structural claims. The 3 domains that are most likely to move correspond to the 3 categories from the declaration: commitments, eliminations, and declarations themselves. But they manifest differently in April than they did on paper in March. Domain 1. Financial acceleration. This is the domain that produces the most visible and most disorienting changes. If your declaration contained a financial component, a revenue target, a career shift that affects income, an investment decision, a debt restructuring, April is when the financial architecture begins responding. Not through visualization, through events. What this looks like in practice. A client appears who was not in the pipeline, not a warm lead that finally converted, but someone entirely new who shows up with a project that matches the declared financial architecture. A negotiation that has been stalled for weeks suddenly resolves, not because you pushed harder, but because the system reallocated priority and the other party responds to the shift. A project accelerates past its projected timeline. What was supposed to take 3 months gets compressed into 3 weeks because the resources align faster than expected. An expense you had accepted as permanent suddenly becomes optional. A contract ends, a cheaper alternative materializes. A fee gets waived without you requesting it. Or the reverse. And this is the part most people do not anticipate. A financial demand arrives that forces a decision you have been avoiding. An invoice for something you forgot. A tax situation that requires immediate attention. A business expense that was manageable at the old scale, but no longer works at the new one. This is not bad news. This is the system clearing financial dependencies that conflict with the new architecture. It forces the restructuring that the declaration implied, but did not explicitly address. The fire horse does not ease into financial themes. It kicks the door open. The preparation here is not emotional. It is logistical. Know your numbers. Know your targets. Know exactly what financial event would constitute the first execution of the declared architecture. A specific dollar amount. A specific client type. a specific reduction in a specific expense category, so that when it arrives, and it will arrive faster than you expect, you recognize it and respond from the specification, not from panic. Panic in a firehorse financial acceleration is how people make the exact decisions they wrote the declaration to avoid. Domain 2. Relationship restructuring. April produces movement in the relational field that March kept in suspension. During the verification phase, the system ran compatibility checks, the 3 types of past contact: test, closure, bridge. In April, those checks convert into actions. The relationships flagged as tests during verification will demand a definitive response, not a soft maybe, not a quote_2, but a structural yes or no that the system can parse as instruction. The closures will finalize, sometimes with a last conversation that arrives unexpectedly and ends a chapter you thought was already closed, sometimes simply with the other person disappearing from the field entirely without explanation. The bridges will activate. The person who appeared during verification and seemed relevant but passive will suddenly become operationally important. A collaboration offer, a strategic introduction, a proposal that directly serves the declared architecture, a conflict that paradoxically clears the way for a new structure by forcing an overdue confrontation. Here is the pattern to watch for. In April, the relational field polarizes. People who are aligned with the new architecture move closer. People who are not aligned move away. And people who are ambiguous, who could serve either the old code or the new, force a decision. This is not you pushing people away or pulling them in. This is the routing table executing the updates that were planned during verification. The system is efficient. It does not maintain ambiguous connections when the architecture requires clarity. Ambiguity consumes processing power. The firehorse cannot afford processing delays, so it forces resolution. If your declaration involved relational architecture, ending a pattern, building a partnership, restructuring family dynamics, creating a new social environment, establishing a professional alliance, April is when the system stops suggesting and starts executing. The preparation. Revisit the past contact tracking from video 3. Which contacts were bridges? Reach out proactively. Do not wait for them to come to you. The system respects initiative. Which contacts were tests? Confirm the boundary explicitly. Even if it feels redundant, a boundary confirmed twice is structurally stronger than one confirmed once. Which contacts were closures? Verify that the file is actually closed. Sometimes a closure that felt complete in March reopens in April with one final demand. Let it close again. Do not engage beyond what is needed to shut the file. Domain 3. Vocational clarity. This is the subtlest of the 3, but often the most consequential long-term. March's firmware installation included a vocational component, whether you declared one explicitly or not. The 30-year Saturn code always writes a vocational layer. It is part of the base architecture, because Saturn governs structure, discipline, and work in the astrological framework. In April, that layer activates. What this looks like: a sudden certainty about direction. Not the hopeful kind, not, "I think this might be my path," the structural kind. The kind where you look at your current work and see, with uncomfortable precision, exactly what fits the new architecture and what does not. The role that was comfortable becomes visibly misaligned, not because anything about the role changed, but because your internal reference point shifted when the new code loaded. The side project that was a hobby becomes obviously the main trajectory. It was always there, but the old architecture filed it under optional, and the new architecture files it under primary. The skill you have been acquiring in the background moves to the foreground and demands investment, not casual interest anymore, but the kind of investment that requires restructuring your schedule around it. There is a specific variant of this that tends to surface in firehorse years: the confrontation with wasted positioning. A sharp awareness that the current vocational setup is not merely suboptimal, but actively wrong. Not wrong in the moral sense, wrong in the engineering sense. The structure does not serve the declared architecture. The energy spent maintaining it could be redirected. The years invested do not justify further investment if the trajectory leads away from the blueprint. This awareness is unpleasant. It is also data. The system is running a cost-benefit analysis on the current vocational configuration and reporting the results. In a normal year, this report arrives gradually, in fragments, over months. In a firehorse year, it arrives in a single document, all at once, during the first 2 weeks of April. What you do with the report is up to you. But the report itself is not optional. It arrives. If this clarity arrived during March, April is when it demands action. Not next month. Not when the time is right. Not when the financial cushion is thick enough. Now. The firehorse does not schedule convenient transitions. It creates forcing functions, situations where the cost of not acting exceeds the cost of acting. The preparation. Identify the one vocational action that has been waiting for the right moment. April is the right moment. The horse will not come back and ask again. Now, the May corridor. I am not going to map it fully here. That is for the April series. But you need to know it exists because it changes how you read April. May 2026 contains a configuration that amplifies everything that launches in April. Think of April as the first gear. Fast, powerful, but still controllable. May is the shift into third, the point where the speed becomes structural and the trajectory becomes difficult to alter. Here is what makes the May corridor significant. There are multiple planetary transits in May that create what engineers call a resonance cascade. Each event amplifies the previous one. I will not detail all of them now. That would require its own video, and it will get one. But the practical implication is this. Decisions made in April do not stay at April scale. They get magnified in May. A financial position opened in April compounds in May, not linearly, but with acceleration. A relationship restructured in April crystallizes in May. What was fluid becomes fixed. A vocational move initiated in April becomes irreversible in May. The system commits resources and burns the bridges back. This works both ways. A strong, clean decision made in April gets amplified into strong, clean outcomes in May. A weak, half-committed decision made in April gets amplified into a weak, unstable structure that consumes resources trying to hold itself together. And a non-decision, passivity, waiting, let me see how things develop, gets amplified into a default trajectory that becomes increasingly expensive to exit. Whatever state you enter May in, that is the state the system optimizes around for the rest of the quarter. April is the last window of easy adjustment. After May, correction requires significantly more force. Not impossible, but the difference in effort is roughly 3-to-1. An adjustment that takes a single decision in April takes 3 weeks of sustained effort after May. This is not urgency as manipulation. This is engineering as timeline. The structure has a sequence. Ignoring the sequence does not make it disappear. It makes the correction costlier. What does the May corridor mean practically? It means April is not a month to observe from the sidelines. It is not a month to see how things develop. It is the execution window. The code was written in March. The build was verified. April is the deployment to production, and May is when the system runs its first full load stress test. Whatever is deployed in April gets stress tested in May. If the deployment is clean, strong commitments, clear eliminations, precise declaration, the stress test produces confirmation. The structure holds. Confidence increases. Momentum builds. If the deployment is incomplete, vague commitments, avoided eliminations, borrowed goals, the stress test produces fractures. And fractures under full load propagate. They do not stay small. Here is the preparation protocol for April. 3 elements, 1 per week for the first 3 weeks. The protocol is designed to match the rhythm of the firehorse. Fast committal, fast clearing, fast compounding. Week 1, the 1st through the 7th. Review the architect's declaration, not to change it, to translate it into operational language. The declaration is architectural, what you are building. The operational translation is what happens this week. Take each of the 3 commitments and identify the first concrete action for each, not a plan, an action, something executed by Sunday. Something that, if the month ended after week 1, would constitute the first brick on the foundation. The actions should be small enough to complete in one day, but significant enough to be irreversible. Making a phone call, sending a specific email, registering a domain, opening an account, scheduling a meeting that has been postponed, writing the first page. The horse responds to motion, not intention. It does not matter how small the motion is. What matters is that the system detects movement in the direction of the declared architecture. Start moving before you feel ready. The readiness follows the motion, not the other way around. Waiting for readiness in a fire horse year is like waiting for the horse to slow down before you mount. It does not slow down. You mount at full gallop, or you walk. Week 2, the 8th through the 14th. Execute the elimination. The program you declared for decommission in the architect's declaration. This is the week it goes offline. Not gradually. Not I will start reducing. Not I will think about it. Offline. Cancel the subscription. End the arrangement. Stop the habit cold and insert the replacement you specified in the declaration. If you said, I am decommissioning evening social media and replacing it with project work, week 2 is when the phone goes on airplane mode at 6 p.m. and the project folder opens. No negotiation, no trial period. The system reads binary, running or decommissioned. Reducing reads as running at lower capacity, and the system allocates resources accordingly, which means the old program continues consuming space that the new architecture needs. The gap left by the elimination will feel uncomfortable. It should. The discomfort is the space where the new architecture moves into. Like removing a wall during renovation, the room feels wrong for a few days before it feels right. If you fill the discomfort with the old pattern, even once, even just for tonight, the decommission fails and the system reads the old code as still active. Hold the gap, 7 days. By the end of week 2, the gap stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like room, like air. Like the architectural equivalent of opening a window that has been painted shut for years. Week 3, the 15th through the 21st. This is the acceleration week. The first 2 weeks established motion, week 1, and created space, week 2. Week 3 is when the system begins compounding. The actions from week 1 start producing responses. The call gets returned, the email generates a reply, the meeting leads to a second meeting. The first page leads to a chapter outline. The elimination from week 2 starts freeing resources, not just time, but cognitive bandwidth, emotional energy, the background processing power that the old program was consuming. And the compounding begins, faster than expected, because the horse is involved. This is the week where most people feel the shift from I am doing things to things are happening. The agency feels different, less effortful, more inevitable. Like the construction is proceeding on its own momentum, and your job is to stay aligned with the blueprint, not to push every brick into place. This is correct. This is what execution feels like when the code is clean and the horse is running. Your role in week 3 is not to do more. It is to not interfere with the momentum that is built. Do not over-optimize. Do not add new commitments. Do not revise the declaration. Let the 3 pillars do their work. Watch the compounding, track the outputs, and prepare for week 4, which is when the May corridor begins to cast its shadow and the system starts testing what you built under load. I have mapped this protocol onto a 1-page checklist tied to your architect's declaration. 3 weeks, 3 actions, with space to track the compounding effect. It is in the Telegram channel. Let me bring the full March series into focus. What happened over these 4 weeks was not 4 separate events. It was one process with 4 phases. Phase 1, format the drive. Phase 2, write the code. Phase 3, verify the build. Phase 4, deploy to production. You are now at the transition from Phase 3 to Phase 4. The build is verified. The deployment window is open. April is the production environment, and the firehorse is the execution engine. Over the past month, we moved from silence to ignition to diagnostics to, now, execution. The foundation is poured, the concrete has cured, and the construction crew is arriving. Not on your schedule, on the horse's schedule. The horse does not knock. It does not ask if you are prepared. It runs. And the walls go up, whether the architect is on site or not. Here is the difference between riding the horse and being dragged by it. Both cover the same distance. Both arrive at a destination, but one arrives directed and the other arrives damaged. Riding looks like this. The declaration is clear. The commitments are specific. The elimination is executed. The weekly protocol is active. When a financial event arrives, you recognize it. It matches the specification. When a relational shift happens, you know whether it is a test, a closure, or a bridge, because you mapped those categories in the verification phase. When the vocational clarity hits, you do not panic. You already identified the action that was waiting for the right moment. You respond from architecture, not from adrenaline. The horse runs fast, but you have the reins. The speed feels exhilarating, not terrifying. The events feel like confirmations, not ambushes. This is execution with a blueprint. Being dragged looks like this: no declaration, or a vague one. The elimination was postponed. I will do it when it feels right. The preparation protocol was skimmed but not implemented. When the financial event hits, it feels like an attack because there is no framework to receive it. When the relational shift happens, it triggers the old patterns because the old code was never decommissioned. When the vocational clarity surfaces, it produces paralysis because clarity without a pre-existing architectural context is just another demand on an already overloaded system. The horse runs at the same speed, but without reins, every gallop is a jolt. Every turn is a near fall. Every event is a reaction, not a response. And by the end of April, the person who was dragged is exhausted, not from the work, but from the chaos of unstructured acceleration. The difference between these two experiences is not talent, not readiness, not spiritual attainment. It is preparation. It is whether March was used for what it was designed for, formatting, writing, verifying, or whether March was just another month. The preparation is done or not done. April does not care which. April executes. The question is not whether April will be intense, it will. The question is whether you will be directing the build from the blueprint you wrote or reacting to a construction project you did not plan. The blueprint is the declaration. The site is your life. And the horse just broke loose. My April protocol is activated. Time is running.